let me tell you about the top 7 things that I stopped buying. I don't believe in unreasonable savings, but I do know that all of us have these things that we spend money on that don't bring us happiness. So let's dig in. Do you remember yourself learning about or starting to be interested in something? For example, you got inspired by a movie to start playing the guitar. If your initial reaction is, I need to go buy a new guitar, this tip might be just for you. Before diving into a hobby wallet first, I look for a way to try this new hobby without investing in it. For example, you could rent a guitar, borrow it from a friend, and so on. And after a few weeks, if you're still very interested in that hobby, that's a green light for you to go and spend money on it. This is also a good mental check to see whether you can stick with a hobby without a shopping spree. High maintenance things. There's so many things that can make an item impractical. For example, right now my husband and I are looking to buy a new car. I really like how white or beige interior looks. It's so clean, bright, and inviting. However, I also know that it's very impractical. I also stopped buying linen clothes because they get wrinkly very fast. I prefer to buy blueberries over blackberries because they don't spoil as quickly. This point is not just about money, it's also about time. I don't want to be stuck ironing my dress for 15 minutes or washing my matte colored car at a special car wash. Whenever you need to be more attentive or careful with a non-essential material item, it adds unnecessary stress to your life. So my advice to you would be to see what eats up time in your day and look for alternatives. Thousands of businesses emerge every day to make our lives easier, so why not research and simplify? To some people, especially women, especially Eastern European women, hi mom, it might be a controversial topic. From a young age, we're taught that we have to look pretty and clean, and for that we need to go get expensive manicures, facials, hair treatments, and so on. If these treatments truly make you happy, then you can skip to the next point. But in my case, I realized that for me to stay happy, it's enough to maintain my beauty and my routine at home, including nail care, hair care, and skincare. I hope to be in a position someday in my life when I can indulge in these things. However, I know that if I convince myself or try to live in this illusion that I can already easily afford these things or that I deserve them, I will never be in that position. So for now, I'm making money a priority and really chasing my financial goals. Alcohol. I was never a big drinker, but I used to drink on occasion. It again wasn't something that made me feel very good. I realized that most of the time it was peer pressure or societal norms. Who said that you have to have a glass of champagne on New Year's Eve? Apart from having better health, which might end up saving me a lot of money in healthcare later on, I'm also happy to see that every time I eat out, my bill is lower and I'm still equally as happy. Alcohol is a personal choice, but I believe we're all moving to having the same attitude towards alcohol as we do towards cigarettes. We will start to recognize its harm more and more. Not only would I be spending my money on something that is completely unnecessary, I would also be sacrificing my time dealing with tiredness or a hangover. Souvenirs. I think souvenirs made a lot of sense before we all had a camera in our back pocket. It used to be probably one of the only ways that you could commemorate and remember a meaningful trip. However, right now, when you can make a whole album of pictures, a whole album of memories, these souvenirs become completely unnecessary. Personally, these items clutter my space and don't spark joy. Overall, all non-digital collector items are not for me. Hoarding is a real problem and many people don't realize it in themselves. It's not about really, having an insane amount of items in your house. It's about the emotional attachment that you build towards them. When collecting gets out of hand, research proves that it will affect your work performance, personal hygiene, and relationships. Risky stocks. The time for risky stocks was in 2020, when pretty much anything you bought would double in value in a few months. My investment strategy has changed massively since the end of 2022. I now prefer to invest in ETFs, value stocks, and companies with pristine balance sheets. I'm no expert at investing, but through experience and a few very costly mistakes, I learned some things and trying to do better. If I were very knowledgeable in the stock market and had a high interest and time to spend studying companies and stocks, I would probably be more of a risk taker. But because investing right now for me is more about saving money rather than earning, I have a strict no risky stocks policy for 2023. How do you feel about the stock market these days? Have you adjusted your strategy since last year? I've never got into crypto, so I would really love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And lastly, any kind of emotional spending. As children, oftentimes we're told, if you had a bad day, if a kid doesn't want to play with you, if you got a bad grade, your parents might say, it's okay, let's go get ice cream. This mentality is one of the reasons why we grow up thinking that going shopping, buying something, eating something will be a solution to our problems, when in reality it's just a distraction and acts as a band-aid. Now that we're adults, whenever we're faced with an emotional issue and might not be acting 100% rationally, we might turn towards shopping. In many cases, it's really about food. When I moved to China at 15, I struggled with loneliness and fear of disappointing my parents, who were spending a lot of money for me to be there. Every time I felt lonely after a long study session, I would reward myself with McDonald's, and that was the very first time in my life when I gained visible weight. It also really took a toll on my health, but overall what I'm trying to say is that experience in China taught me that food and shopping are not the solutions to these problems, and that emotions overall shouldn't have a say over my spending. Money, emotions, and happiness have a very close-knit and complex relationship. I talk about this topic and I explore and dive into it more in this video, where I try to answer a question: does money bring happiness? So please check it out. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next week.